Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the newest podcast in town, Tales from the Prick. This is episode 1, and as the first guest, I have one of the best deathmatchers in the United Kingdom. He's from Norfolk, England, is Big fucking Joe. Oh yeah, fuck off.
One of the only deathmatch wrestlers in England. So by proxy, I'm going to take the top spot.
Yeah, he's gonna take the top spot. Never break the kayfabe with this one. So, first and foremost, I want to ask you something about your favorite promotions as a kid, especially if someone watch your Instagram profile. It's no mystery that you are an Extreme Championship Wrestling, the classic one, of course, fan. So, I want to ask you, how did you discover that revolutionary promotion, and who were the talents that actually impressed you the most?
Well, in England, we had a magazine called Power Slam magazine, which kind of featured uh, ECW, WCW, had like Japan, FMW, and there was always the pictures, like the blood and guts pictures that allured me to ECW. And then it went from obviously seeing the pictures to becoming a bit more savvy. And in the back of the magazines, there'd be like the weird people, that would be like the pen pals.
Yeah.
Looking back was pretty creepy, but you'd send your money in the post, and you'd get a hope to get a VHS tape back, and just fell in love with it. It was totally different to any sort of wrestling I'd seen prior.
And who were the wrestlers, the workers, that impressed you the most?
To start with, it had been people like Sabu, that totally flipped the script on, at the time, what I thought wrestling was, because I'd only seen, I was a massive WCW fan to start with, but WCW 1990 to 1992, was nothing compared to ECW 95, 96. So my mind was totally blown. So Sabu, then I was a massive fan of Raven, because he had the kind of like punk rock, emo, sort of grunge thing going
Yeah.
on, which to me as a fat emo teenager was kind of alluring.
I can totally understand that. Totally remember one of the first episode of ECW or Core TV of 1995, in which Raven was walking in this street with I think it was Offspring maybe,
Yeah.
playing in the background, and that promo in the school with Tommy Dreamer telling him that it was going to come back to school, but this time he wouldn't graduate. That it was fucking awesome. I can totally understand as an ECW fan myself
I
your
think
love
as
for
well
the
it's
promotion.
the music as well, because obviously when you're, well, for me, when I was like 11, 12, I was just getting into music. I was just buying my own CDs, and to hear music on a wrestling product that I actually liked was insane.
Yeah, Jim Cornette used to say that. I know I will probably gonna find from the deathmatch wrestling fan to quote Jim Cornette on a podcast, but anyway.
Actually, before you go there, I actually love Jim Cornette.
Yeah, I mean,
He's very entertaining. I don't agree with half the stuff he says, but just because unlike Jim Cornette, I'm not such a retard in the fact that I can't. We can have different opinions. Who
yeah, that's
cares?
so good. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I first couldn't stand him, but I can't stand him on the G Raver thing as well. But to be honest, and for crying out loud, I'm more into Jim Cornette opinions than fan opinions, because there are some great fans in professional wrestling, but there are others that can fucking understand that they're still fans, and that Jim Cornette was in WCW, WWF. He founded his own promotion as Smoky Mountain Wrestling, so he probably has more to say than them.
He was in ECW technically for one night, so
Yeah, with
uh,
Eastern Championship Wrestling, I don't remember the year.
yeah, yeah. I think you have to differentiate, and some of the stuff he says is fucking ludicrous. Some of his political views, I agree with massively, because I'm super super liberal. But even some of the stuff he says, I still just, you know, with everyone's different. I'm not going to lose sleep because he hates deathmatch wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, it refers to it as garbage wrestling, but if I can remember correctly, garbage wrestling is a technical term as well. So, I don't know.
And he's a
Like,
businessman as well. I mean, it's when you watch real like boxing or any promo, if people actually spoke the way they actually truly felt and didn't add a bit of hyperbole to it, then it wouldn't sell. If Jim Cornette went, deathmatch wrestling is shit, that's not my thing, he's not going to appeal to his audience. He's not going to sell more t-shirts. He's not going to cause more controversy and cause traction. So that's his job, is to say shit that's going to piss people off.
yeah, that's a very wise thing to say for you as a performer as well. So, I kind of agree with that. To be honest, I don't really like most of the things that Jim Cornette did. But as a promoter and as well, it was a really great manager. Is a lie to say the other way around. But I don't like, for example, Smoky Mountain Wrestling. I'm not a big fan of it, but I really liked his work as a manager for Heavenly Bodies, for the Midnight Express. I really didn't like the run he did in WWF in 1998, if I can remember correctly, in which he managed the Heel Rock and Roll Express. That was totally out of time, man.
The
In my
promos were really good, though. Can you remember the promos he would do every Monday, where he'd just be shooting on the industry? Can you remember
uh,
those? They were like 2 minute backstage vignettes where he would just shoot on WCW and shoot on wrestling and stuff. Can you remember those?
this in WWF.
Yeah, during the Attitude
Uh,
Era.
I've recently watched all the Anya Rao's pay-per-views from the first one, which is terrible. Fuck's sake, Kevin Nash is so awful. And from till like I think it was the last Anya Rao's of 1998. I can
Well,
remember.
I'll send you them after this interview. I'll find them and send you them. They were so far ahead of the time. So for him to say the stuff he does now about wrestling is kind of hypocritical. And to be fair, he did book a fucking mummy for Smoky Mountain Wrestling. So he can't
And,
really, he doesn't have a leg to stand on when it comes to credibility.
yeah, and if I can remember correctly, he actually booked Jim Neidhart as a KKK member. So fuck's sake. But he also booked the Rodney King angle reversed. So something was good. I mean, with
Yeah,
New
that
Jack.
New Jack's best work was in Smoky Mountain. Phenomenal. So good.
Oh, this is a really unpopular opinion, but I mean, I'm all for the gangsters shit with Mustafa, but in ECW, I mean, the matches with the Public Enemy and all that shit with, well, I don't like the shit with Big Grimes in XPW as well. I'm
Yeah.
not an XPW hater, but I mean, that was fucking awful. Big Grimes was a fucking slime with legs. So, no offense intended, I mean, but couldn't
Yeah.
fucking wrestler. He couldn't fucking wrestle. I mean, but that's business. So bumps away. And the second thing that I want to ask is, I think you are in your 30s, maybe.
Yeah, sadly, yeah.
But by watching your profile on Instagram as well, one can see that you are a really big action figure collector. And just maybe it's a stupid question, but what are your favorite pieces of your action figure collection?
Well, recently I got the guys that look after me, Deathmatch Outlaws, cheap plug, hooked me up with a Great Nita figure, which is really cool. It comes with like the barbed wire and the like. Have you seen the New Japan ring that comes with the barbed wire?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
the
he has
one that it was fabricated for the I think Onita versus Chono
yeah,
promo.
yeah.
Oh
So
yeah.
I've got the Great Nita figure, which is probably cool. Any ECW figures have a massive place in my heart because at the time in England they were so fucking hard to get and they were so expensive. I think what I paid for them back then is what I'm seeing them for sale now because they were just so hard to get. Um, they're probably my favorite. But then I've always got a soft spot for Hasbro's because that was the first sort of one I managed to get as a child.
Yeah, I have the Hasbro action figures as well because of my brother who is 35 and he used to collect them. I've started with them and I didn't fucking know they were who they were. Like I had an Hulk Hogan action figure, Brutus the Barber Beefcake, Sergeant. No, it wasn't Sergeant Slaughter. I think it was Jake the
Yeah,
Snake included. And I didn't know who they were, but they were fascinating because they were something else from the usual toys. And for crying out loud, I need to say that Josh Crane said a similar thing to you on his Instagram, as he told, like, when you're an adult, you can actually buy your children because there's a lot of maybe online shop right now. There's a lot of things that maybe are expensive but are really easier to find compared to the 90s or the 80s, for example.
yeah. I can remember any time I would get a toy wrestling ring, my mum would mysteriously break it or get rid of it. So
Oh, fuck.
she wasn't a massive fan, so it took me years and years of constantly like nagging to get other rings, and she eventually caved in, and it led to me doing deathmatch wrestling, I guess. So she was probably right to get rid of them.
And he couldn't, like, make you avoiding during that match
Yeah,
in the
no,
end.
no, it was those stupid photos in Power Slam magazine of FMW Explosion magazine matches that did it, I think. But from a figure standpoint, yeah, it's definitely the Hasbro's. I've got a few LGNs, but they don't really hold a place in my heart because I never really played with them. You playable as a child, that you couldn't really do a lot with them.
Yeah, I was more of deluxe figure guy, like the ones from the Jacks, or I can't remember if Mattel did action figures as well. But I remember I have The Undertaker, Honky Tonk Man, Shawn Michaels. They are like super. You can play. You can do a lot more of moves
Yeah,
with them. So as a kid, I like those figures more as
yeah.
well.
I think the ones that really took it to the next level of playability were probably the WCW Toy Biz ones.
Oh
You know,
yeah,
they
those were
brought out
awesome.
the Scott Hall with the posable fingers, and Sting came with a baseball bat. And then, of course, the ECW mark, they brought out Hack with the barbed wire and the cane.
Yeah, I can remember it. I've always wanted to complete the classic superstars collection from the Jacks. I have some of them, but I don't have all, of course, because I will have to sell my fucking house to catch them. They're fucking expensive right now. So,
You will definitely have to get on webcam and do some nasty shit to get all that money. That's for sure.
oh, that's not fucking PG, man.
Is this PG? Sorry, is this podcast PG?
Oh, fuck no.
Oh,
That's
thank
not
God. Well,
PG.
with the name, I was just assuming anything goes.
Yeah, I there's a funny story about me about not being PG, but it wasn't voluntary. It wasn't voluntary. I had an English teacher. I've always been good at English at school, and there was a pic in which I was with the class, and I ended up doing this thing, and the English teacher was like, "But that's the F gesture," and I was like, "Oh fuck, I didn't know this one." So it was pretty embarrassing because she taught me that this is fuck you in English, and I
Yeah,
didn't know it.
I think the rumor I heard was it was something to do with in a war with the French would cut people's fingers off or something to do like that, and the English would do this like we've got our fingers. I think
And they
that's where
went
it
like
came from.
this. Suck it. And last question, by the way, that I want to ask you is: you've been Rise Underground champion. You've been Rise Underground Hardcore champion as well.
Yeah,
It's that is it right? Okay. You've
yeah,
probably won a lot of titles in the UK. I don't know about that. I've always, to be honest, to be fair, I've always followed you in your Rise Underground career. I haven't found actually some earlier matches of yours when you
thank
were a
God,
skinny
thank
guy.
God.
When you were a skinny guy and you didn't wear uh, you
Yeah,
know,
there's a reason for that because no one needs to see them. So
and you've been you had titles in Rise Underground. you had the opportunity to join the participants of the Tournament of Death in
Yeah.
2019, facing Casanova Valentine. Go check out that matches with Casanova Valentine is awesome, and the one from Games of Death as well from Rise
The Games
Underground.
of Death one was the better one, I
Yeah,
think.
I think so as well. But what I want to ask you is how it is to fight in a no ring death match, especially if it's in a bar. Because if for the people who don't know it, Big fucking Joe wrestled no ring death match in a bar with none other than Marcus Crane and, as said, Casanova Valentine. So how it is to fight with no ring?
It's harder because you want the match to be good, and obviously when you haven't got a ring, there's only so many bumps you can realistically take. So you always have to have that into consideration of like how the match flow is going to go, and then as well you have to kind of figure like when I did one with Casanova in Leeds, the room was so full, like there was barely enough room to fight. Like when we went in, we were like, shit, this is there's too many people. What we like in your head? What are you going to do? So you have to have that into consideration, and then yeah, there's a lot of intangibles that you wouldn't normally get in a normal match. You know, people spill beer on the floor. It's quite easy to slip over. Um, Obviously, it's dirty as fuck. Like you need to really try make sure you get cleaned up after that.
Yeah,
But I think match quality is the most important thing. It's really hard to have a better match not in the ring, in my opinion, than in a ring. But saying that, it has a place because to watch it live is so fucking cool. It's a
yeah,
totally different experience, you know, because you are right up there, and it suits like perfect. You know, it's perfect for like punk rock bars and that sort of thing.
yeah.
You know,
I
you don't
will.
have to be a wrestling fan to like it, which is the beauty in it, because it's just watching some guys beat the shit out of each other. So I mean, as a night out, I don't think it gets any better, but each to their own, I guess.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I've been to some great concerts, like really big audience. Like I saw Rancid, Green Day. I've seen like some Italian artists with a really good venue, like thousands of people. But I need to say that the concerts in which I had more fun was like 20, 30 people, punk
Cool.
rock, and like mosh pitting as fuck, and watching something like no ring that match live, which is something that I haven't done because in Italy they don't do it. I think it
One
must be
day,
fun.
maybe.
Oh, I really hope you're gonna go in Italy. Please, someone book Big Fucking Joe. He's really talented and he's gonna take all the bumps you want. Not all, maybe most of them. This man wrestles without fucking knee pads and he does death match. Please
I know
have some fucking respect.
people always shit on my gimmick of wearing the pants or the Y fronts, and I think I don't wear fucking knee pads, and I'm doing death matches. Most people in death matches wear like 20 layers of clothing, and you know just hack
Yeah,
and slash. They don't do fuck all. They can barely wrestle, and they just wear a million items of clothing like a fucking hockey jersey or something. And to me, that takes a lot of the allure out of it because the danger is part of the allure.
yeah, I totally agree with that. To be honest, Danny Havoc told miss him by the way, told to Alex Colon to wear gloves as I read because your hands are gonna be so fucked up after death match. But I agree with you about
I
that.
think
The danger thing. Without
it's
danger, it's not
important.
that match.
Don't get me wrong. For like people like Alex Cologne that do death matches every fucking week, that makes sense to wear gloves.
Yeah,
But
totally, man.
sadly, for me in England, I wish I could do a death match every week, but it's just not a possibility. So I can be a bit lax on wearing gloves and stuff like that. For now, anyway.
Yeah, I hope that after coronavirus, deathmatch wrestling in the UK is gonna be more considerate. Uh, I think a good place for it was Germany with the WXW.
WXW, yeah, they've went the PG route and took that WWE money, haven't they? Because
Fuck
everyone's
WWE.
everyone's such a fucking mark to be, to get that paycheck from WWE that they'll sell their soul and their product to get the residuals. Which, okay, if it's paying the bills, then that's up to you. That's fine. Because
Yeah, that's my thought as well. Like, totally agree with you. Like, I think WXW went good as well because it had a school. It has a school. It had some really talented performers such as Alexander James, Walter, and all of that. But you know, WWE style product
of
totally
course,
ruined. For example, like the 18 plus underground shows,
yeah.
or the European Tournament of Death, which was a really good tournament to be
I was
honest.
at one of the Gore Fests actually in the crowd. There was only about 50 people there. The one they did in Colchester in England.
I can't remember if it was Germany or England, but it still was a WXW show. WXW used to run shows in UK as well, if I
Yeah,
can
this
remember
one was in
correctly.
conjunction with WXW. It was the one where they had Ian Rotten and Mickey Knuckles on.
I
Remember?
think I think it was the one I'm talking about, the 2012 one,
Right. Okay. Yeah.
which has Drake Yonder versus Jimmy Havoc in the opener. I'm talking about that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
There
Yeah.
were Ian Rotten
Randomly,
and Mickey
I just
Knuckles.
went to one of their shows. That's all I was saying. They're
Yeah,
definitely, they're definitely. I think the life cycle of a promotion starts out. No one goes to the shows. Then it becomes underground, cool, edgy. Then you get your hipsters start latching on. Then the product eventually changes. Then you become a feeder group to WWE because they buy everything in sight to stop any other sort of promotion getting anywhere. So
yeah, sort of. I think that talking about ECW again, the thing with ECW was that Paul Heyman never counted too much on, like, let's say like this backyarder type professional wrestlers. Like he had the Sandman, he had Sabu, he had Mikey Whipwreck, who they weren't green, like they weren't green. But the thing that put ECW on the map, I think, is always been good wrestling. Nevertheless, like you had the hardcore guys in the main event, but you also had Eddie Guerrero and Dean Malenko faces in a 2 out of 3 falls. So what
yeah,
I'm saying is, good wrestling must always be part of the show. But the
of
thing with
course.
Paul Heyman was that he could take the product and stay at that level by doing some underground cult shit, as you do,
Yeah, you can't.
as you say
You
it.
can't. You have to choose what you want. You either stay at this level forever, like say like a band like NoFX. Every
Yeah,
NoFX album sounds the same. They know they're always going to sell out 2,000 capacity buildings for the rest of their life as long as they want to play. But then if you want to go from here to up here, you have to change your style and you have to decide if that's the thing you want to do. And obviously, it didn't work out for ECW, sadly.
yeah,
I
it's
mean, they could
like
have still been around if they would have tried to, not become a national.
yeah. There are shows talking about ECW. There are shows that are good in different ways. Like I really love Hostile City Showdown '95, but I also love Heatwave '98, for example. They're totally different show, totally different venues, totally different professional wrestling type, but they're still pro wrestling. In '95, maybe there wasn't national cover on television, but I mean, it's something different, and that's the same thing with liking more kind of products. Telling that Jim Cornette maybe doesn't like deathmatch, but he doesn't do any damage by saying that he doesn't like it. As well,
Yeah.
I don't think someone you know spits
If he's
shit
talking
on
about it, to
ECW.
me, if he's talking about it, to me, it's a good thing. Like more people now know who G Raver is because Jim Cornette failed to sue him. So it's only a
Yeah.
good thing.
As well, many people know, for example, who New Jack is for the mass transit incident, for example, which is not a good thing, to be honest, but let's say controversy creates cash, as
Yeah,
someone
Eric Bischoff.
wiser
Right?
used to say.
Yeah, yeah.
Eric Bischoff
It's,
was my favorite professional wrestling action figure. That's
what?
yeah, the 2003 Raw version of Jax, I think. You
Your
still have
favorite,
the black hair.
your favorite though.
No, my first one. My
Oh,
favorite
you!
has
I thought you
always
said your
been.
favorite. I was thinking,
No,
what the
no.
fuck?
My favorite has always been, I think, Vader. I purchased it from a friend in 2012. It didn't have the helmet, the elephant kind
Yeah,
style helmet, but still is my favorite. He has a singlet. You can remove it. It's really big as a
yeah.
for
No, I know.
action
I
figure.
know which one you're talking about.
The classic superstars
Yeah,
one, as I told you. I bought that one and 70s version of Andre the Giant, with the big curly hair.
yeah. Because I think Super Seven have got a new Andre the Giant coming out, haven't they? With the younger Andre.
Yeah, the one from the 70s, I think it was in
Yeah,
his middle 20s because Andre the Giant is class 46, I think.
because you can change his head on these ones. I think that's the ones. I don't know how much of a figure geek you are, but the podcast, the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast, with Matt Cardona and Brian Myers.
I actually love Matt Cardona's collection of figures. I can say that he's a student of the game as well as Brian Myers, but I don't follow their podcast, but I know there is something like that. I saw
They've
they
done their own thing
interviewed
where
the
they've got their
ECW
own figures
guys.
being made, and with Super, I'm pretty sure it's Super Seven and Andre the Giant is another one. They all link up to the sort of WWE, AEW universe. They're all the same size, so which is
Oh,
pretty cool. Because obviously, when I was a kid, there was nothing worse than you play with your WCW figures, but then the WWE figures would be a different size. Just you can't do it. You can't
no.
play with Hasbro's and Jacks and have them in the same figure fed.
Funny thing is that I had Raven TNA version, the first pack of figures they like launched at
Yeah,
Christopher
when he's
Daniels.
got the black battle
Yeah,
shirt on. Yeah,
yeah, he has really colored tattoos. He has no
yeah.
realism in that, but still is a good figure because I've always been a huge fan of Raven as well.
The Abyss one was really good as well from that
I
same
had
era.
that one too, but he fucking has one leg. It's broken.
Ah,
That's really sad, but I still have the chain. And
the chain's probably worth the most money.
yeah, probably. You told that there were bigger figure than others. So, for example, I had deluxe figure of Rey Mysterio, and I couldn't do a Rey Mysterio Raven match as a kid because Rey Mysterio was like this and Raven was like this, and I was like, fuck,
Yeah, I couldn't
Jesus
play.
Christ.
I couldn't do it. It's like when I was a kid, I always had this weird sort of thing. Say we were playing, I don't know, SmackDown or No Mercy. If I chose to be Crash Holly, but you chose to be Triple H, I'd think, fuck, I have to change now to be a main eventer because this match just doesn't make sense. I couldn't do it.
Yeah,
It really
yeah.
pissed me off. Like if we were in a Hell in a Cell match and I chose to be Undertaker, if you chose to be Trish Stratus, I would have to change my character because I can't suspend my disbelief and enjoy it. It's really weird.
Yeah, I've been a realist guy in action figures and video games as well. Like when I still play the WWE games on PS3 to be honest. Uh, they're kind of funny. I mean, I don't have a PS4 anymore because my brother took it with him. But I mean, I'm I really pay attention to these things because I think stories are always important in wrestling, even if you want to play video games or playing with action figures. If you want to do wrestling, I mean, do it good. Everything is possible, but do it well. And talking about real professional wrestling, ICW No Holds Barred booked you. I think it wasn't the Florida weekend, the Mania weekend, right? It was
They
before.
tried. They tried to book me for Mania weekend, which annoyingly I took another booking for another promotion that weekend, um, and then obviously did the honourable thing of saying like this promotion was a lot smaller than ICW, but I did
Yeah.
the honourable thing of being like, look, I've already took a booking, thanks a lot, and it was a super fucking sick idea they had as well, which I'm really gutted about. And the other promotion last minute, fell through, couldn't sort the flights out. So I've learnt a lesson. Just whatever booking you take, just take the one that pays for the fucking flight first. That's the lesson I learned there. But ICW were cool enough to hit me up later that day and just say, look, we'll book you on this show. But then obviously the COVID pandemic messed everything up. So it's all gone now. It's all a pipe dream at the minute.
That's fucking awful. You were supposed to face Matt Tremont, nevertheless. That would have been a great match.
No, I need that match. I'm hoping his retirement is more like Onita Terry Funk retirement, and he comes back.
Yeah, he probably.
Better than ever. I hope so. Only for my own selfish reasons, but
yeah, I think Matt Tremont. I think Matt Tremont can do 2002 version of Great Muta in All Japan Pro Wrestling. Like, doesn't matter how old you are, how many things you did. Like, if you wanna rejuvenate, you can do it. Matt Tremont.
He's younger than me, which pisses me off. He's had such a good career and done so much cool shit, and he's fucking year younger than me.
Yeah, the thing that I can't understand is his material. I think he debuted in 2006 because he told it was 14 years that he had done that shit, and I can't find anything of his earlier days. But I think that 2011 feud with DJ Hyde, fuck DJ Hyde, by the way, in CZW.
I'm gonna stand up for DJ Hyde, man. He's in my personal experience, because I'm all about, just telling my story. He's been nothing but cool. I can see why a lot of people say shit, but
yeah,
I'll always be grateful that he took that risk and booked a unknown fat guy in white pants to be in Tournament of Death. So I will always be grateful to Deej for that.
Yeah, I'm not talking, of course, about David Markland. I'm talking about the promoter. Like, some people got offended, and of course, it's kind of right, because he told one time the F word. I don't like to say that word.
Yeah, that was at the Casanova No Ring show. Yeah,
the homophobic word. He told say that word, and some people got offended, but they can't remember that in 2002 2001 edition of King of the Deathmatch in IWA Mid-South, Corporal Robinson told it as well. And people can tell me, oh, well, it was 2001, still an homophobic word. It still sucks. And I'm not all against DJ Hyde for that, but for example, it pisses me off that he couldn't just stand to fake some really huge, talented guys to bring in Japan with him, and he chose that to put himself over with Onita in his promotion with Matt Tremont.
Yeah,
it is like in with the new, out with the old. I'm not for that philosophy, but sometimes you have to do that. So that pisses me off the most, and it pisses me off the most as well that he choose to take a underground phenomenon as CCW and try to put it on TV with the help of Sami Callihan. Like, you can't put CZW on TV. That's not a TV product. That's not ECW. Wife Beater against Zandig. It's not the same thing as Sandman versus Raven. That's what I'm saying.
If you're going to go, in my opinion, if you were going to get CCW on TV, it would be like 12 o'clock at night for an hour on some fucking gnarly sort of, you'd have to be like, kind of like how Jackass was back in the day. It'd be on super late, you still have the blood and guts, but you take the blood and guts away from CZW and it's not CZW.
That's it. Same thing. Progress has never been like really awesome, but with the adding of
Yeah, I'm listening, man. I'm just doing my real life gimmick. Making that money.
Do we have to cut? We're gonna.
No, we can keep going. It's fine.
Okay. That's a good thing about life. And as I was saying, you can't put blood outside of CCW, and it's gonna be CCW anymore. But what I've always thought is that CCW has never been the same thing as ECW, because the first ECW actually didn't have professionals, real professionals. Like you had Ruckus, was really good. We had a training, if I can remember correctly. You had Trent Haystead, God bless him. You had Rick Blade, Signic Mondo. I mean,
Bill
they
Rick
were,
Blade and his botched spots
yeah.
constantly.
You had some people that actually knew how to move their feet inside the ring, but still, you hadn't Dean Malenko, you hadn't Eddie Guerrero, you
Yeah,
had.
I think it took to about, to me, the turning point in CZW was probably best of the best two, when they had obviously the guys from England, Johnny Storm and Jody Fleisch. That's when
Greatness.
that is when I think the blood and guts aspect, it became similar to ECW in the fact that they were no longer just blood and guts. They had truly great junior heavyweights.
Yeah, junior heavyweight matches in CCW were fucking great. Can
Yeah.
remember an awesome contest between Chris Sabin and Mike Quackenbush for the junior heavyweight championship. That's a five-star fucking match. And I like that they had it, for example, Kevin Steen, El Generico, Super Dragon to
Of
it.
course, all the IWS
XS
guys.
69. Sexy Eddie was a death matcher as well, but I think he couldn't fight in a junior heavyweight contest. And
I
in
think they
general,
dropped the ball on Sexy Eddie massively. That was when they were bringing all the guys in from Canada, wasn't it? IWS. I think
yeah,
it
it
was
was
all.
IWF, the Rougeau promotion, the Jacques Rougeau promotion.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
it
like
was,
after Sexy Eddie, had the gusher in the arm, they really should have put the gas on him and pushed him as a top guy, because in CZW size doesn't really matter. So especially back then. So
yeah, I agree. I agree. Those things need to be like more considerate. Like, if there's a thing that I know recently in the recent years that many spots have put actually single spots have put professional wrestlers on the top. Like for example, there had been like a huge discussion about the Janila and Rush spot in which Leo Rush totally didn't sell a huge maneuver from the ladder, handing
yeah, I remember that.
there were I remember that I had a discussion on Facebook with none other than Marty Jones. Respect for Marty Jones.
Marty Jones. Oh, as in World of Sport, Marty Jones.
Yeah, that
Oh,
WOS Marty
he hates
Jones.
me. He hates me.
That's awful.
That's
Why?
hilarious.
Why?
Um, at a show, a Rise show, the first time I did the no trouser gimmick, he was backstage and he walked past and he seen me with no pants on, and he was like, "This fuck, the business is fucked. The business is fucked. It's done. It's done." Then he went out and cut a promo and dropped his pants.
Fucking shite, man.
And
That's
then and then then he said a racist slur to someone on the promo in the most liberal, like where we wrestle and the promotion we wrestle for. So it is punk as fuck. Like no one gives a. You can get drunk, you can get fucked up, and you can do stuff, but just don't be a dick. It was all
yeah.
about
And
everyone's
that's the
super
James
liberal.
Baldwin quote, to be honest.
Yeah, Jim Smallman, and
Fuck
but be
James
cool
Baldwin.
and stuff.
I think you're gonna agree with this.
But he said a racial slur in a promo
Yeah.
against someone. But again, he is an old, very old, demented man who's probably had so many concussions. Not in a nasty way. I'm just being realistic. Like he's probably hit his head so many times that he didn't mean to say the word. There was probably no malice behind it at all, because it wasn't the racial slur he used didn't fit the person he was saying it to. If that makes sense, without me saying it.
I mean,
But he's very old and confused, so he probably just that was the first word that came out of his mouth.
yeah, but
I'm not justifying it for him.
I was just gonna say that. I mean, Johnny Saint, I think, had some really serious like not diseased, but he's very old as well. They told me because I have some Italian workers that work with him, and they were all, fuck, I love Johnny Saint. Johnny Saint is fucking awesome. But he ended up having some like remembering problems. It
Yeah.
was not Alzheimer, but I mean,
A bit punch drunk is what we'd call it when I do
yeah,
boxing and stuff.
yeah.
You know?
He,
Uh,
he went full Adam Sandler, like in Punch Drunk Love sometimes.
oh, the worst
So
Adam Sandler movie ever.
you don't like Paul Thomas Anderson?
What did you say? Sorry.
You don't like Paul Thomas Anderson, Punch Drunk Love?
I thought you said Adam Sandler, Punch Drunk Love.
Yeah, Paul Thomas Anderson is the director of that. Adam
Oh,
Sandler does the
right.
Punch Drunk guy.
Oh, yeah, I didn't like that movie, but yeah, I don't think he's a massive fan of my gimmick. Let's just leave the Marty Jones thing. He's done a lot for wrestling, and he was a phenomenal.
Yeah, of
He's
course.
done, he's trained some fucking really good guys. Like got good training school. Some of my people I'd consider friends train there, but he's very much the old guard, so he's not going to like a guy in pants, which is fair enough.
Yeah, I can remember that. I heard a similar thing. Kenzo Richards, I don't know if you know him,
Right.
the Dutch guy, who the Sensei of Chops gimmick. It was like doing a seminar in Italy because there's something that I never understood in Italy. I mean, where there are lots of like backyarder like workers, which I think is the same in the UK and also
All over the
uh,
world, probably.
yeah, USA, UK, and probably all around the world. But there's a thing that all Italians do, and is calling international talents. Maybe they're very talented, but they have like 2 or 3 years experience as a pro. And I'm talking pro, like going in the ring and having matches on important shows and know how to work a camera and all that shit. Know how to move their feet inside of the ring, and the Italian workers always make them do seminars. Like, I have nothing but respect for Chuck Mambo, and I think that all the people can learn something from other people. But what I'm saying is that I don't know if it's correct to take Chuck Mambo and pay like 10 euros for making him doing a seminar. Like, I will pay 10 euros like for you, for I don't know, some other talents. I mean, I saw your pics. You have probably like 10 years experience or something like that.
Let's not tell anyone that. I'm still pretty rotten, to be fair. But with the statement, what you're saying is kind of reminds me of the episode of King of Queens where the dad learns to. My battery was dying. Um, where the have you seen King of Queens where he learns to play piano and he stays
No, I
one
haven't.
lesson he stays one lesson ahead to teach the other person. Um, so it kind of reminds me of that with what you're saying with the not being wrestling long enough to really take a seminar. But the guys that taught me to wrestle always said, there's a million ways to do stuff, okay? But
Yeah,
you can go train with everyone because even train with the people that are shit because you'll get taught not how to do things, One within reason, you don't want to be dropped on your head and stuff, but learn from anyone and everyone because you can take something from people even if they're beneath you in a skill level. That
yeah,
makes sense.
that's what.
That's how I justify it. And obviously, from the promoter's aspect, I mean, I don't know how much flights to Italy cost, but they probably do it to try recoup some money from the flights.
Yeah, that's probably that as well. Like, what I'm saying is, I agree with you
I
with
do get what you're saying, though.
I do agree with you with you can learn something from everyone shit, but you know what people in Italy don't understand is that like you can't take someone that people say for the absolute truth. Like, they
Oh no,
always.
never ever take anything for gospel. Like even the best wrestler in the world might tell you something that's absolute bullshit and doesn't make any sense to you.
Yeah, I mean, like, I've trained for professional wrestling for 2 months, and I had a really good trainer, technically talking, but it was like an Eddie Guerrero cosplay type gimmick. So maybe if he also, I don't want to shoot on him because I mean it's like,
Shoot,
uh,
shoot, shoot, shoot.
I
What?
mean it's I have done it like enough right now, but uh, I don't think it can help people working to their gimmicks because
Yeah,
his gimmick is
that's the
not even
problem.
original. That's what
I
I'm
mean,
saying.
I've done training schools like back in the day with people, and there was a guy called Mark Sloan who was pretty, you know, well known for. There was a promotion called FWA over here, Frontier Wrestling Alliance,
Yeah, I
and
know him. I know it.
the big thing, right? But they would do train. He would do training seminars, and he would try get the 6'9", 300-pound guy doing the same exact things as the 170-pound guy. And it's like, why don't you just teach the guy how to wrestle a style that suits him? Like, not everyone can be a Mike Awesome and spring to the top rope. So why would you try get this massive man to do it and potentially injure himself? It's just stupid. That's why,
Yeah,
me personally, when it comes to wrestling training, don't take groups that are too big because everyone's at a different skill level. If you can train with like 4 or 5 people, enough that you can swap around, hopefully stay at the same level and then progress safely rather than doing something with someone that's far more experienced and fucking it up and making yourself look in it a fool or hurting someone else.
yeah, I agree with that. And that's another thing that Paul Heyman actually understood. Like
Yeah,
every
hide
guy,
the negatives, accentuate the positives.
yeah, every guy has his own comfort zone, but you still have to take the comfort zone of every guy and put it on another level. Accentuate the positives. That's what you were saying.
Yeah, of course.
I
And
totally agree
as
with
well, like the thing is in wrestling, like for me, egotistically, I think I'm quite a good technical wrestler. But realistically, there's no point me trying to do that against someone that is 5'6" when I'm so much taller than them because it would just look stupid. I would just be doing it to myself just to show that I can. Don't get me wrong, on certain shows, if I wrestle there all the time, then it might be good for me to bust out a bit of tech just to, you know, pop the crowd that go there month in, month out. But really, you've got to play to your strengths in wrestling. There'd be no point you being 5'7" and weighing 200 pounds doing military presses. It just wouldn't work on everyone. It looks stupid.
Yeah, totally, man. I totally agree with that. And I was thinking about still the comfort zone thing. Like, there are some gimmicks, in my opinion, that aren't good anymore. Like, you can accentuate the positives all you want, but there are people that are still with maybe
So
the
like
giant thing.
right. So like the way what I would say you're trying to vocalize to me would be like my friend had this exact problem, and I gave him my advice was to change a gimmick. Like he had his gimmick in England was he was a Native American, like Indian, like Tatonka.
Yeah,
But in England, that's not a thing. These people don't exist in England, so there's no way. And it's the year 2010 by this point, or whatever year it was. There's no connectivity to that. It's like, how can I invest myself into this guy? And if you don't believe the gimmick yourself you've got, then why bother? It just doesn't make sense. Like Paul Burchill when he was saddled with the pirate gimmick.
oh fuck,
I mean,
shit, man. That
I
was
mean,
awful.
it's good for a bit of 20 seconds laughing, but after that, where'd you go with it? It's kind
I
of
th
redundant. You can't do anything with it.
I think with some like adjustments, it couldn't fit in Chikara, for example. But
But
still,
that's it. It's a mid card gimmick.
the thing is, that was a generic pirate gimmick, and I think we can open a really big discussion on this one because, for example, Paul Burchill was a generic pirate, or King Mabel was a generic, not King Mabel before he won King of the Ring in 1995. Fuck's sake. when it was with the Man on a Mission in 1993, 1994. It was a generic, kind of fat black guy doing grab shit.
You'll get cancelled for that.
Probably. I actually love Viscera and Mabel
I'm
thing.
joking. I personally believe say whatever the fuck you want. I'm
And
too sure.
the thing is, something Vince McMahon as I never understand is you can't take generic gimmicks and put it on and hoping that they're gonna connect with the people, because I think the real important things as a fan, I think that the only important thing with gimmicks is the context in which you insert them. Like your character, in my opinion, works because you are a big guy, big fucking guy that can actually wrestle, but it prefers to throw fucking light tubes at people. And grabbing holds is not your thing, just like it wasn't for Ian Rodden, Axel Rodden, the Bad Breed, or New Jack in ECW. I mean, their thing was just to brawl. Like Bolt Mahoney, I don't think it would have fit with the technical
I've seen Balls Mahoney wrestle in person, like
endorsement.
actually technically wrestle, and he wasn't great, but he wasn't by no means bad. But
No, I mean,
you have to play to your audience. You know, I'm not going to go to a punk rock gig and play classical music. And
yeah, that's it.
and what's the point? I always say this to younger guys, like I know I'm never going to be the best technical wrestler in the world, just like I'm not going to be the best high flyer in the world. So why even bother? Why not just go a route that I could try stand out in? And
I
I
agree,
like
man.
match wrestling. Like, unless you're going to be the best, why bother? Like, I've got friends that do bodybuilding, but bodybuilding is such a hard sport and you have to invest so much into it. Unless you truly can be the fucking best, what? Why bother? Unless it's your passion, of course, then do whatever you have to do to get throughout the day. But in wrestling context, if you can't be the best technical wrestler in the world, don't try because you're just going to look really shit compared to Zack Sabre Jr.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point from you, because something that wrestling permits you to do is you can do something, just do something else, still in professional wrestling. I don't think that, as you mentioned, Zack Sabre Jr., which is probably the best technical wrestler in the world, I don't think is objective, but is actually one of the best. That's objective. I don't think it will work like in a deathmatch style environment, even if someone did it. And it went good inside. I mean, I'm a huge deathmatch wrestling fan. I've watched tons of death matches, and I think it did well. For example, with Jimmy Havoc, he had a tournament in IPW UK,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is
I know
now
which
a
one.
close promotion, and it went good. But you could see it wasn't his thing. Classic example that comes to my mind is superstar Billy Graham doing like the karate guy thing when he firstly retired because he had some really big issues with steroids, and then he returned. It was like, yeah, sort of that 12-inch pythons. And he came back, and also his wife on the documentary WWE put out told that it wasn't his thing. Like the only thing he could do was like showing his fucking muscles and not doing fucking karate. As well as, I mean, there are lots of characters in WWE who, I mean, maybe bookers don't know what to do with them anymore, and they just give them gimmicks like Mojo Rowley. I think is a really awful worker, to be honest. But
I think if you don't believe in your gimmick as well, like when I was saying about my friend who had the Native American gimmick,
yeah,
he
it's
didn't he
not
didn't
it's not
he didn't
credible.
fully believe in it because it wasn't him. And if you're just going through the motions, you're never gonna go 100%. You might only do 80%. You know, it's the
Yeah,
same with the
totally.
promo. Like I could give you lines to say, but if it's not vernacular that you would use, then you're never gonna fucking say it properly. So what's the point? Just be you.
Yeah, I think that another important things with gimmicks, I I repeat as a fan because I don't want to talk like a worker. I have like 16 years experience as a professional wrestling fan, as a professional wrestling worker. But something that has always worked for me is when someone is himself, but they tend to exaggerate it to make it a gimmick. Like Nick Gage is gang affiliated. Yeah, he's got some like bad reputation for what he did. That robbery, went to jail for 5 years. He took that real personality, like I'm gonna fuck you up in the street if you're gonna piss me off, but then you go in the ring and into death match and you don't kill anyone. You're just pissed off as fuck, and you're gonna face wash your fucking opponents with a fucking light tube. That's what you're gonna do. I mean, you're someone, you tend to exaggerate it as a gimmick. You tend to like dramatize it. That's the word that I was looking for. You tend to dramatize it and it becomes a gimmick. That's what I think has always worked the most.
Yeah, I agree, and I think you can have like really outlandish gimmicks, but again, it depends on the audience. Like if it's a Shikara show, then that works, you know. But a Shikara show wouldn't necessarily translate to WWE show, or it depends. But with Nick Gage, I truly believe Nick Gage could be, you know, top rung in say like AEW if they pushed him right, because it's the ultimate underdog story. Like the guy, you know, got arrested, got out, turned his life around, got a shot of redemption, you know, takes no prisoners. I mean, it's the American dream, isn't it? The redemption story.
Yeah,
Because
like Eddie
he can
Kingston.
actually wrestle really well, and he doesn't need to do. AEW will do hardcore TV 14 sort of shit, and Nick Gage
Yeah,
week in week out does stuff that doesn't involve light tubes and barbed wire. He can cut an awesome realistic promo because it is real to him. So I
yeah,
think he could definitely, if they would take the gamble, be used in a better way on a
yeah.
bigger
If
stage at least. Not by WWE because they would fuck anything up, but
yeah,
I think AEW could, if they wanted to have some realism going on, because they're supposed to be a realistic product, um, they could really do with Nick Gage, and it'd be nice to see him make some real money. You know.
yeah. I think WWE has always been really out of time with these things. Like they proposed a like trash man gimmick in the mid 90s while
Yeah, if they brought Nick Gage in, he'd be the fucking Hamburglar. He'd come in like black and white
yeah,
stripes, or the Convict or something like that. He'd be something shit.
yeah, it
Not
would be
that he would
fucking
get signed in the
embarrassing.
first place, but
Yeah, I agree with that. Something that is AEW, not ECW, sorry. Something that All Elite Wrestling has done really well is take the workers and accentuate the positives, but with money, so they can really accentuate the
of
positives
course.
and make something good for television. Because there's a discussion between the marks, me me included, with AEW being a major promotion with an independent environment, an independent promotion with a major environment. Like they do indie shit, which I think is a stupid term because I think it's only professional wrestling.
It's all
That's
part of
different.
the subgenre of wrestling.
Yeah,
Wrestling's like a pie chart, isn't it? Sometimes there's death metal, there's punk, there's classical, there's pop music, which would be WWE. Obviously, CZW, well, not CZW so much now, but ICW would be like your fucking death metal. That sort of,
yeah, that's
that's the
it.
way I look at it.
And just to end this digression, because there were some questions, but that's what I like about podcasts. You just go and talk about everything by starting from a simple point. What I want to ask you regards music. So I am a huge Misfits fan, as I know you are. So I'm just gonna ask between the let's what I consider the most famous album of them. What do you prefer, American Psycho or Famous Monster? Famous Monsters, sorry.
I'll get heat. I'll get heat for this. I prefer Famous Monsters
Fuck yes, man. Me too. I fucking love that album.
because I got into the Misfits like when they were on Roadrunner Records and stuff, because obviously I was, too young to be into the original lineup. I wasn't, it wasn't a thing. So I preferred the later Misfit, not current Misfit, well, not the reunited Misfits, but Jerry only, stuff was okay. I guess I'll take it.
I
I mean, it's
prefer I
the
prefer
only incarnation.
to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it was the only incarnation of the Misfits I got to see was just Jerry only playing at a punk bar that I worked at as a bouncer. So I mean, I'll take it because it's better than no Misfits. But
Yeah.
yeah, I was a massive fan from Road Warrior, the Roadrunner record days, which is obviously not the cool thing to say, but all Misfits is good Misfits though.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, I
So
was I was such a Misfits mark. I remember buying Project 1950 the day it came out, and that's pretty dire.
yeah, that's a funny thing because I've known the Misfits with Famous Monsters as well. I was 16. I've listened to them since now that I am 23 years old. Nobody likes you when you're 23, by the way.
I
And
hate the fact that you're fucking 23 because I always think of the Millennium Collins song 22 as well. I don't know if you've heard them. Uh, yeah, it makes me feel bad about being old and unsuccessful, but whatever.
I don't refer as myself as a successful person. I mean, I'm just working class young guy trying to do his best, trying
Yeah, but
to
you've got time on your hands. Like, my time's ticking, so
yeah,
I'm
I hope.
envious. I'm envious. You're younger. That's what pisses me off about Matt Tremont retiring. The fact he's still younger than me and he's done so fucking much. I like to put that partly down to geography because I live in the UK and fucking nothing happens here, and partly down to just me being lazy, not getting shit done.
You know something? I think the only reason you hadn't the success Matriman had is because United Kingdom hasn't the same respect for deathmatch wrestling as
It just wasn't a thing. Like there was pioneers like Iceman and stuff, and obviously people that were doing it. You know, Jimmy Havoc, Clint Margera, that sort of stuff. But it's just there wasn't enough promotions in England that would book deathmatch wrestling. It's still not really a thing in England now. I'm
yeah. What
trying to
pisses
make
me
it more of a
off
thing.
What pisses me off is, I mean, Timothy Thatcher is an awesome worker, but it pisses me off that they would let him work deathmatch in Fight Club Pro in the Death
Yeah,
House and not you. That fucking pisses me off, man.
no, I
Like,
mean, to be fair, that is a pretty good draw to get a non-deathmatch guy to do that sort of thing.
and I love it as well, like Shane Strickland, Joe Gacy, and all that shit, but I mean, I'm not saying that deathmatch wrestlers need always to get the spotlight in a
Yeah,
deathmatch environment, but I mean, you do that. That's your thing. So they
yeah, but
never fucking that house, and that
yeah,
that
but I'm
itself.
not being objective. I'm not one of these guys that's got an inflated ego. Like I'm still pretty much a no one in the grand tapestry of Brit refs. So I've never wrestled for that promotion, and I wouldn't even know. Like if they wanted me, they'll contact me. So I mean, it's up to them, isn't it? Like, yes, I want to do every deathmatch show possible, but
Yeah,
until I'm a big enough name that they all come knocking, it's not going to happen. So I'm going to try and make it happen. Hopefully, I get to ICW and I get some of that American rub, and then I'll be owning shit more over here.
yeah, man. But I mean, it's never too late. Like, I hope you're gonna work for some really important promo. Not nothing to I mean accuse Rise Underground for, because Rise Underground as being let's say an underground cult
Yeah,
phenomenon.
I think Rise Underground is the fucking, as an outsider, as a fan, because I watch like everything on the show. Like I watch all the stuff. I think like it's one of the best things in England because it's just underground and punk, and it's dangerous. It's not full of snowflake fans that get offended if a heel says something nasty to them. People come and get fucked up and drink loads of alcohol and have a good time. It's
Still like
dangerous. You see people do suicide dives to the outside of the crowd, and the real world is dangerous. And I always
Yeah.
find that neck to rise. You hear at progress shows of the fans moaning because a heel's being a heel outside and a dick to them. Well, you bought tickets to the wrestling show, you know.
It's called kayfabe, you fucking dickhead.
Yeah, I
That's the
mean,
thing
some
that you
people.
understand.
I mean, I'm pretty. I'll talk about anything, but some people in wrestling are like what you'd call a method actor, and the minute they get to that venue, that's their character. So, oh shit, my fat fingers have done something. Um, yeah, and that's like, do you know what I mean? If don't be a pussy. Basically, you chose to leave the house. It's up to you what happens. You chose to go to the wrestling show. If you get covered in beer or you stand too close to a wrestler who's swinging a light tube, well, that's on you. No one made you leave the house, and that's what I like
Yeah.
about Rise. It's edgy and stuff, but it's not for everyone. Um,
Yeah, I remember that some people like had a really big discussion on social media about Spike Trive, which is a good
yeah.
a good worker, but I don't like his deathmatch stuff. I think it's too soft for being deathmatch. It's more
That's
of an
what I hate
hardcore
in
thing.
England. Like, I think I know what you're talking about. I've seen one of his death matches and it was pretty tame. I think death match has been bastardized in England. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's the
we'll run a
problem.
death match. We'll run a death match, and we'll have a one carpet strip thing. But I
Fuck.
think to be part of the death match, like, because I heard someone did a death match, I think in Italy, and it was like tame as fuck. Which
Yeah, I was at that show. It was Mirko Mori against Nick Landers in a death match. It was the actually first death
That's
match.
not the one I've heard of. Then I might be thinking of something else, but
Probably it was Akira from All Japan Pro Wrestling. I don't know if you know that guy. He's Italian. He recently went to All Japan Pro Wrestling and he went again. He went against Cobra in a death match. Cobra was cut up badly here. Maybe it's that.
this is not the one I'm thinking. I was just, I, perhaps it was the Spike Tribet thing. I just remember someone saying it was a death match. There
Oh
was
yeah,
a death
Prince
match.
of Massive versus Spike Trivet that match. It was after dark shit. Like they told to the people to like go away if they didn't want to watch that. That's the thing. Like at that show I went to, the promoter told that if you want to stay, just know that it's gonna be brutal. But they use skewers, they use uh, tacks, they use barbed wire,
Okay,
leather. But
okay, cool.
one of the two, it was a good contest. The timing wasn't. I mean, it was a bit fucked up because I think timing is a really important thing about deathmatch wrestling. I always say that to my friends. Like, if I watch deathmatch, I get tired of seeing people like searching for something to do without maybe punching his rival
Right.
for him stay down. Like I can't fucking believe that your opponent stays down while you're watching, while you're I mean seeking a fucking light tube for like 5 minutes.
Yeah,
That's what.
it's shit. It's one of those things I think in wrestling that you kind of overlook. Like in a normal wrestling match, obviously, when the guy does the drop kick, he doesn't sell it. But when he misses the same drop kick, he sells it like he's being shot. I think it's one of those things in deathmatch wrestling that we shouldn't do, and I'm guilty of myself. But you kind of have to overlook sometimes. That's like part of the sort of nuances that you kind of. It's hard to vocalize, but do you get what I'm saying? Sometimes in a wrestling match, like when you see them kind of hold the light tube to keep it on themselves, like it's part of deathmatch
Yeah,
wrestling.
yeah,
The
like the
deathmatch
coast
person
to
has to.
coast. I've seen in WWE as well with people taking the trash can, like
You
fixing
kind of,
it on their
yeah,
face. Yeah,
you kind of overlook it as a deathmatch nerd, but if you were outside of the bubble, you would think, "What the fuck? That guy's just hot. He's just moved the light tube to keep it on and to keep it balanced. It's fucking stupid." But
yeah,
because we're
yeah.
suckers for it, we kind of overlook it. But it doesn't mean you can be totally complacent as well. Like you try to hide that stuff, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, as a deathmatch nerd, as you said, I tend to pay attention to these things, but man, doesn't mean a deathmatch is awful just because of that. For example, Zanzig versus Wife Beater from Night of Infamy 2002, which is one of the best CCW death matches in history for me. Not a technical masterpiece, but they had a good story and they actually legit kill themselves. Uh, there was like actually the timing was good. I mean, the timing was always good. They never prepare a spot for too much. They did not went too far with the protecting themselves thing. And that's when I think a deathmatcher really is the best. For example, Masashi Takeda from Big Japan, I think is the best deathmatcher in the world just because he legitimately doesn't give a fuck. But
How many has he
10,
done? Like how many? Like
like 10 years,
loads.
his body's a testament of
Yeah,
scars.
of course.
And I'm not saying that that is, I mean, sane or that is healthy, but yes, coming to a point in which he can permit himself to do it. Like he knows how to go through light tubes while doing suicide dives because he always does suicide dives between the light tubes. Fucking breaks them. He doesn't care because it's fucking Masashi Takeda. Fuck off. And he does those things because he has in ring awareness about deathmatch.
Yeah.
And that is a thing that, in my opinion, some deathmatch wrestlers should do. But I mean,
I think
this,
a lot of deathmatch wrestlers, this is the thing I noticed, and this comes back to the whole toy thing. Like they set up spots that are so contrived and can blatantly go wrong, not in a go wrong in a looking cool way, but just like a clumsy, like you're probably gonna both fall off the top turnbuckle and miss this breeze block or light tube combination or something. You
yeah,
know, it's like surely your mind could have seen this was gonna go wrong. Like, you know, when you
I
played with
do.
figures and you'd set something up and it would just, you could see it's not going to go right. So you'd change the spot. I think
Yeah,
in deathmatch wrestling, too many people maybe do stuff like that, if that makes sense.
I think that many people does it in normal wrestling with no deathmatch environment as
Oh, of
well.
course. Yeah. Yeah. It
It's
happens in all
general
forms of
thing.
wrestling. But it's like with deathmatch wrestling, when you're using props and stuff and it doesn't look totally organic or um, you can see it's probably not going to go the way you want it to look good. And I'm very much about spots to me as a fan looking aesthetically pleasing. You know, so
Yeah,
why necessarily set some big fat guy up on the top rope who probably can't even get up to the top rope to try this spot when it's blatantly going to go wrong in the first place? Like just ixnay the spot and do something better.
yeah, but I think it can be a gimmick in some way. Like when you watched Ric Flair going on the top rope, you perfectly knew he
Oh
wasn't
yeah, of
going to
course.
connect the maneuver, but you like to watch him throw out of the turnbuckle. And the funny thing about it, I think it is that WrestleMania 24, when he did that crossbody to Shawn Michaels, it was legendary because it was
Oh
probably
yeah,
the
well
first time
he,
he
he did
connected.
he did the axe handle on Carlito as well, didn't he? And that's the whole sort of Pavlov sort of thing, like build it up and up. But I'm kind of meaning like sometimes in deathmatch wrestling, guys set up these spots, and it's
Yeah,
like how did you think this was going to go right? Because you just botched it. I could have told you a million times over this was not going to go the way your mind's eye was seeing. Like,
yeah, yeah. But I
uh,
think
go on.
I think it's worse when workers just stare at each other completely, like not moving, one staring at each other. And like the to make an example, to make it simpler, the Nick Mondo and Zandig spot at TOD2, it's awesome to see, but what you see on the roof, it's not credible at all. Like Zandig just takes Nick Mondo like this and military press him through light tubes, and I was like, I mean, how could Nick Mondo not fucking countering it? He could like jump behind him and just throw him like this on the light tubes. But I mean,
That is
that's
easy for us, or well, I'm not necessarily agreeing with you on that one, but it's easy to say, but But when you're up that high, it's probably like shit. What the fuck? Let's just get this done. But
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
that's
it's
just
like Janila and Zandik spot as well. Like,
yeah, yeah, of course. But we went off on a tangent because I was saying about deathmatch wrestling being bastardized. It's like in Rise, we were very focused. There was a core group of us, me, a guy called Danny Darko, a guy
yeah,
called Michael Caden. We were very like we didn't want to bastardize it, so we did like what we'd call hardcore matches that were pretty much full on death matches, um, and we didn't want to ruin it. You know, we wanted our matches to be like when we do a death match, fans are going to get a fucking death match. We're not going to do a death match and there's going to be, like I said, one carpet grip or two thumbtacks. You know, there was a phase in England of people saying, yeah, there's going to be a death match, beach ball death match, or put death match on it, and it was like using frying pans and no color. Like to me, that doesn't make sense. You know,
yeah,
it's like the genre of deathmatch doesn't necessarily have to use glass, doesn't necessarily have to have both guys covered in blood, but there's certain things when I say deathmatch as a fan I would expect to see, and
yeah,
it wouldn't be two guys hitting each other with baking trays and the finish is a chair shot. That just wouldn't make
yeah,
sense to me. Um, and I'm trying to get away from that. I want deathmatch in England to be nasty and gory and have moments and stuff. I want it to be an actual fucking death match. I want people from the US to look at UK death match on a similar level and not subpar. You know, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do a good death match and it's a good death match for the UK because the UK is a virgin territory in that aspect. I want to do good death matches that are good death matches the world over, if that makes sense.
yeah. It makes sense, and I think that people don't always workers don't always think outside of the box. Like that match can be not only light tubes, but because after Onma made them popular in Big Japan at the beginning of 2000, uh, death match means okay, it's hardcore with light tubes.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be like tubes.
It
Like
doesn't have to be light
this
tubes.
is the debate I think I had before, and Schlack talked about it. It doesn't have to have, it doesn't have to be light tubes and barbed wire or cinder blocks or what. It doesn't just have to be objects that can cut you. But what we can all agree on as deathmatch fans is deathmatch is a bit higher than a hardcore match.
Of course it
Hardcore
is. Of
deathmatch has
course.
to be here, and too many people in England or in Europe were definitely bastardizing the term deathmatch because that might have been on their bucket list of things as a wrestler to do. Like, oh, I'm deathmatch now. Well, you're not fucking deathmatch because you've not done the shit I've done. You've not done the shit Caden's done, Darko's done. People like the Iceman have done, Jimmy Havoc. Whatever
Yeah,
the
Jimmy
deal is with
Havoc
him. Whatever
has
the
been.
deal is with him now, I have no idea. But he paid his dues and he did real deathmatch shit back in the day. He might get heat for the stuff now because he doesn't need to do the shit he did back then because he makes more money now. But um, so many people in England were just throwing the name deathmatch on shit just as a tagline, and it was kind of annoying.
Yeah, I think you can start calling yourself a deathmatcher when you have some scars on you.
Yeah,
That's
it
what it
kind of
is.
ruined it as well for like people like me, like who were massive deathmatch fans, and it's like it was the cool thing for guys to do that one deathmatch, like the wrestler like to do the deathmatch. People like Shane Strickland and stuff did it well, and he
Yeah,
took pride in that and fucking knocked it at the park and killed it. But then there was guys that just did it and like, oh yeah, I took a fucking Ric Flair flop onto some Lego and I'm deathmatch now, and that's kind of
yeah,
insulting. That's insulting, and it fucks it as well because when fans want to go watch a deathmatch, they're like, well, we paid this much money, and this deathmatch was shit. So what's why come back to another one? Because it's going to be it's the carpet's going to be pulled from under our feet again. If you're going to label deathmatch, be a fucking real deathmatch.
I totally agree with you. Talk about paying your dues and Jimmy Havoc to just take one name. He has been accused on more than one occasion of being a pussy because he couldn't like take some high spots. But what people doesn't know is Jimmy Havoc actually wrestled Yuji Ito, Jun Kazai, Kankuro Shino, always in death matches,
He's done loads of.
DJW style.
He's done so much crazy shit. He's done loads of stuff before deathmatch was cool in England. Like he did it because he loved deathmatch, and then obviously sometimes he goes on certain shows and people shit all over it. Like the heat Jimmy Lloyd's getting now from a certain aspect of the crowd. Um, these guys paid their fucking dues. Like, say what
Yeah,
you want about them now. Everyone's got an opinion. They're like assholes. Everyone's got one, but you can't say he's not deathmatch. He was
no,
deathmatch at least.
attractive. I mean, it took fucking Caesar on his fucking arm
Oh,
by
Jimmy Lloyd, I
Sasuke.
would never say anything bad about it. You know, you can't. He's fucking
No,
insane.
you can't. And to be honest, uh, to end this interview and to say what you were saying, Jimmy Lloyd is younger than me. That's the
That's
funny thing.
insane, isn't it?
He has faced fucking Takeda. He has faced Jun Kazai. He has faced Takashi Sasaki, and I'm still here interviewing. But that was lots of fun, and
At least when you wake up, you probably feel a bit better than he does. I'm sure he's still
uh,
wreck.
I don't think so. I'm a really huge smoker sometimes, so
Uh,
maybe.
fair enough. I hope you're smoking the good stuff and not the bad stuff.
Of course, I was talking about cigarettes to be honest, but I try to smoke. Yeah, yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, sometimes, most of the times, it's
The
good.
world could end tomorrow, so if you like smoking, do it because World War III could happen with some fat pigs pressing red buttons and it's all game over. So do it for today, man.
Yeah, we're gonna toast one day because the world's gonna end.
Yeah, it will.
It's,
Everything
well,
ends
of
at some
course.
time.
And I hope to see you doing some good shit in America before it fucking ends.
Fucking
After
me too, man.
this,
It pains me every weekend on my Instagram feed seeing fucking crazy clips from these gnarly deathmatch shows, and I'm sat not doing any of it and just working mundane jobs, doing shit I hate is soul destroying.
yeah. I mean, you could always do like the wrestler, like Randy the Ram, without cutting your finger, maybe, and telling your
But
boss that
is
you fucking
the
hate them.
sad thing about the wrestler is he was actually successful. I'm still trying to get to that point, you know.
I don't know. I don't know if fighting Ernest the Cat Miller can make
Don't
yourself
say a bad
successful.
thing about Ernest the Cat Miller. He was his best thing he ever did was in the wrestler. He
I
looked
know.
night and day how good he was in that. To be fair,
Yeah, it was some kind of Iron Sheik bootleg, but it was good. Still better than the cat, by the way.
yeah, I agree. His work in that movie was very good though.
A punch in the nuts, it's better than the cat. Everything is better than the cat in WCW probably. And for those who don't know, the cat is just type Kevin Nash versus the cat on WCW Monday Nitro, and you'll find out it's gonna be really painful.
You didn't like the commissioner cat? I think he was the commissioner, wasn't he? Like on Thunder and stuff. That was
I'm more of a Commissioner Regal guy.
probably the best commissioner. Yeah, Regal and Tajiri, I would say. It's probably the
Yeah,
best use of that gimmick. Commissioner now is overdone. Like wrestling doesn't need a general manager or anything now. So old hat, I think.
yeah, totally agree with that. And I think we're gonna end this interview by wishing Big Fucking Joe a lot of success in the future because he fucking deserves it. He has bust his ass open for the fans,
And
and
for myself, because I'm a massive mark for myself,
yeah,
as is every wrestler. Otherwise, we wouldn't do it.
and he has a really good tolerance of pain. He's a really good death matcher. Does a lot of things that most of the pussies here in Italy and in the UK doesn't do because he believes in the cause of deathmatch wrestling. Underground is better and always
Deathmatch, I
support
thought.
always support independent sellers, independent wrestlers. That's why I do this podcast because I just wanna make people know about workers like Big Fucking Joe bust their ass out for the fans every weekend, if they could at least every
Yes.
weekend. They will deserve
Fuck
to
you,
do it every
COVID.
weekend.
Fuck you, COVID.
Fuck the COVID. Fuck Boris Johnson, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. Fuck all politicians. They're all sneaky little snaky bastards that get overpaid and do very little. I mean, we don't even need politicians anymore. We can literally just vote on individual policies, which is mad. That's what pisses me off with this world, how they're in charge. We could literally just say, should England invest £1 trillion into nuclear submarines this year, or maybe we'll just invest £1 trillion into the NHS, but we don't because corporations run the world, sadly.
Yeah, sort of. I can't agree with that, but I'm into politics myself. So, and I am something that I think Boris Johnson wouldn't like, doesn't fucking like.
They're
I'm
all snakes. They're all snakes. Sometimes, sadly, I find voting is like choosing between cancer and AIDS. Either way, you're fucked. You are
bumps
truly
away,
fucked.
bumps fucking away with this, and let's see what happens. The only important thing for now is that fucking pandemic ends, so that we can see good professional wrestling with real crowds and not the fucking Thunderdome because that is fucking pathetic.
My biggest fear is after this, though, that the world is going to be so weak and so many people are going to be anxiety ridden, which each to their own, do what you got to do. But the world will be so weak that my biggest fear is people won't go to wrestling shows. Well, that's not my biggest fear, but I mean, I do fear that people won't go to wrestling shows and stuff. And like, that was the biggest thing for me was Rise was so punk and there was no seats and everyone, it was like a circle pit around the ring. And
That's how it should be at every wrestling show, maybe.
I
It's a
really
lot
fucking,
funnier.
I really fucking hope people just have the balls to live life for today rather than, not live at all and live a sheltered life for the rest of their lives. Because, like I said, the world could end tomorrow. Live for today.
Yeah, live for the moment. That's
Be safe, and do what you want to do, but still fucking live.
use your condoms, eat your vegetables, say your
Exactly.
prayers. No, fuck
Wear your
prayers.
condoms. Have a lot of fucking really good nasty sex. Take the right drugs in moderation. Go to deathmatch wrestling shows, but
And
just be nice
support
to people.
shows.
Yes, be nice to people as well.
Yeah, that's a lesson from Danny Havoc. You always say that.
It's
Always be
nice.
nice.
It's nice to be nice
It's nice to be nice, guys.
until it's not time to be nice. I think that's
Yeah,
a quote from Roadhouse.
and for 230 pounds. Oh, yeah, I think Big Fucking Joe, by watching at him, is a 230-pound guy, more or
Uh,
less.
Probably about near enough 300. Bad, bad.
Anyway, it's not good when a guy like this doesn't play around and stops to be nice. So be nice to him or he's gonna fuck you up with some light tubes. Literally.
Yep.
And for today, that's all, folks. That was the first episode of the Tales from the Prick. And bye from me and from Big Fucking Joe. Don't fuck with him.
Don't fuck with me, bitch.